So today I want to talk about when you're engaging with a real estate agent, their job is to negotiate with you and try and extract as much information out of you as they can so that ultimately they can get a good outcome for their client, who is the seller, generally at the buyer's expense, trying to get that extra money out of you. So today I thought we'd have a fun way of looking at 4 things that you can do to actually put a smile on the real estate agent's face when it comes to negotiation. And the first one is tell them what your budget is. And sometimes this is not an obvious question that they make. They may ask you something in a way that backs you into a corner. So for example, they may say, hey, the vendor's expectations on this property are $850,000 plus. Can you afford that? And that might evoke an ego response from the buyer because it's quite a public display of your sense of status and your sense of net wealth. And so you might just say, yeah, well, I can afford that. But ultimately, if it's not worth that, you don't want to pay that. So a better way to respond to such a question is, instead of saying, yes, I can, you just say, hey, look, I'm actually prepared to pay what the research suggests this property is actually worth. And it's therefore suggesting that you are ready to buy at the right price, and whatever it takes, you may be able to be in a position to buy it, but it won't back you in the corner when it comes to negotiating. So the first thing you shouldn't do, it sounds obvious, but make sure you don't tell the agent your top budget. The second thing that you can put a smile on their face is just tell them how motivated you are to buy this property, because that really takes the negotiating power away from you. And I always think of that with my kids in the morning. I need them to have their breakfast, I need them to brush their teeth, I need them to make their bed, I need them to put their clothes on. But unless I find out what their motivation is, I generally can't get any leverage on that. But as soon as I tell them, hey, look, I'll put your favourite TV show on, it's amazing how much they get up and do exactly what I want them to do. It's kind of a bit like that. If you sort of say to the agent, I've sold already, or I've already enrolled my kids in the school around the corner, or my sister lives straight across the road, effectively you're finding out what their motivation is, which ultimately the agent who's worth their salt will lock onto that, and your negotiating position is vastly diminished from doing that. Much like my kids, if they want to watch the telly, they've got to do all these other things first to be able to do that. The agent knows for you to be able to fulfill the fact that you've already sold, or the kids are already enrolled in the school, you must actually buy this property. So again, that's something you can do to put a smile on their face. The other thing I'd suggest you do is tell them you're fed up with the process. Tell them that you've missed heaps of properties. Tell them that you're totally over the process and that you just want to buy no matter what. Because I can tell you from experience as a buyer's agent, I've had so many times when a selling agent has told me that, Bryce, you're up against another buyer who's missed out on heaps of properties and they're actually really fed up with the process. And to be honest, I think they're going to pay whatever it takes to actually buy this property. And so then I have to think, well, that's a pretty motivated buyer, but the agent's got them exactly where they want them. They know that they'll just get some competition, feed that underneath so that they can ultimately pay a bigger price. So tell them you're fed up, and that's another way to put a smile on their face. And of course, the final way I would suggest that you'll make the agent stay is to tell them that you absolutely love the property. Put your heart on your sleeve, talk about the positives in front of them, and make sure that they know without a shadow of a doubt that you really love that property. But of course, you should try and temper that. Talk about the property once you've left, when you're in the car talking to your partner, and that's the time to really let your emotions show. But if you play your hand in front of the agent, chances are your negotiating power has definitely gone out the window. But a little tip for me is beware of taking your kids along, because you might have a really good game face, but the really experienced agents will say, why don't you go and check out the property, and they'll strike up a conversation with the kids and they'll ask them some questions, because the kids will keep their barriers down and inadvertently won't realise that they're giving away some really great information. So there's a few tips, as I mentioned, to make the agent stay. Tell them what your top budget is. Tell them how motivated you are to buy this property. Tell them that you're absolutely fed up with the process, and tell them that you absolutely love the property, because those are the reasons that you will end up paying more money for the property, and of course give the agent a really big hand up in the negotiation process. But it's always important to remember that the real estate agent doesn't work for you, they work for their client, who's the seller. So make sure that you go into any negotiation armed with this crucial information. And if you make sure that you look for any of these derailers to your position, chances are you could negotiate a really good deal on your next property.